what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Paul and Slick James Johnson. How the devil are you both?
Good morning, good morning.
Doing good.
Excellent stuff. Any signs of Earth-based curvature?
Nothing, just a trick.
Yep, no doubt, no curvature. Did you see, while we're on that subject slightly, did you see P-Brain kind of commented on the video that was shared yesterday about the boat going over the horizon? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did, yeah. He gave a very big shout out to me as well, so thank you very much indeed, P-Brain, for the shout out. He had my head put on top of Incredible Hulk, and like Mr. Muscle style globe head, and he basically said that I'm smashing globe heads around left and right, which I don't think isn't true, but there we go. He pointed out that the boat isn't actually getting any smaller as it's alleged to be going over Earth's curvature, so if it's disappearing into the distance, why is it staying the same size? So maybe we'll have an answer to that. It was something that Anthony did bring up on the show. So yeah, big shout out to P-Brain.
I thought it was good. He put them bars on there, and I thought, if we did that more often and doing measurements, I think we could see things, a little bit more, get more information. So, you can move on.
Any signs of axial rotation, again, of the Earth-based variety? Hey, Sleeping Warrior. No sound, Sleeping Warrior.
Yo.
Hello, good to have you. We're only at axial rotation.
What was the shout out for P-Brain then? I didn't, something to do with Anthony picked it up on the show. I didn't quite catch it because I was on my way in. What was that point you were saying?
P-Brain basically posted. Oh, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead, Nathan.
No, you go ahead, Paul.
P-Brain took that video that you posted about the ship going over the horizon, and he put lines like over on the top of it to measure to see if it shrank any, and he noticed it didn't shrink at all. And then he showed how things do shrink as they go off into the distance, and how that boat didn't shrink. So it was probably not probably 5 minutes or something like that. It wasn't very long.
So what's the explanation then? Is it fake footage, or is it that something else is going on?
He didn't say. He just said it's obvious that the boat's not shrinking, and if perspective is in play, then it should be shrinking, but it's not. So that's all he said. He didn't get into depth with it. It was just a short video. I'll find it and post it in the side chat so you can see it.
Yeah, I've not seen it, but that's definitely the case. If that boat is going over the horizon, it has to get smaller as it does, so it can't just go over the horizon and stay the same size, because that's just like the perspective denying curve calculator in real world, isn't it?
Talking of the perspective denying curve calculator, I want to shout out a moron called Rory, because he's
shout out retracted.
So this moron has brought it to basically the audience that's been increased since we spoke to Mick West about this very problem of them hijacking perspective and calling it Earth curve in the side profile, begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculators, which all work on the same premise and all work on the same mathematics, and all exclude perspective by using actual sizes of a target which will not reduce with distance, which is the effect of perspective, or the angular size. Well, this effect of perspective has been very much hijacked, so it's definitely not included in these geometric calculations. Hint, hint, clue is in the title, geometric. Nevertheless, we've been covering this subject with quite a few ballers because it's been raised by one of their own side who is, as I state, a moron, and assumed incorrectly that perspective, something we experience in our day-to-day lives, and when we take a picture of anything or film anything, is included when it's not. Now, if I was a globehead and wasn't aware of this, I might be like Rory and wrongly assume that, well, if it's based on reality, of course it'll include the effects of perspective. Presumably that's why he's made his £5,000 challenge and then vanished into thin air when it's been absolutely slam dunk proven without any question that there is no perspective in the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. So for anybody who wasn't aware, yes, the effect of perspective, stuff disappearing into the distance until it very possibly disappears because it's too small to see due to its angular size, has been ignored and hijacked in your curve calculators, which only use actual size. So you can put a Rubik's Cube on a flat surface, push it away a mile, and it will eventually disappear due to its angular size. Nothing to do with Earth curve, but were you to plug that into the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve maths, it would most definitely assert that it's gone to Earth curve, because that's the only claim it can make. Nothing disappears because it gets too small, ever. It only disappears because Earth curves got in the way. So yes, thank you very much to Rory, a moron, for bringing this to basically everyone's attention. Maybe there was a small handful of the audience who already appreciated this as they were subscribed when Mick West came on and argued the toss, or maybe they were subscribed when Bob the Fallacy Guy came on and explained it wasn't needed. Hey Flat and Earth, good to have you.
Hello, friends.
Good to have you. What about scientific evidence of gravity? Any evidence of that?
Gravity's a joke. They can't even define gravity. I challenged people yesterday to go and look up what is the definition of gravity by science, and it's really difficult to get a coherent and consistent definition for gravity. Some people say it's a force of attraction. Some people say that it's Einsteinian curvature bending the space-time. But in any event, whatever it is or is not, it seems that you can't get a reliable, consistent definition for what gravity actually is. And it seems that they want you to argue over whether it's one style of gravity over another, completely missing the fact that neither have got any evidence to support it. So long as you're arguing over which one it is, then they're happy with that. But not forgetting the fact that neither of them have got any evidence to prove that they're true. So it's kind of like a red herring that they have like deliberately obfuscated definitions for gravity, and they want you to argue over them. So as long as you're arguing over what gravity is, not the fact that it exists, then they're happy.
You know, that kind of usually happens with things that are made up.
Yeah.
So I've intentionally not put the link, just if everybody's moaning that there's no link below the info box at the moment. Yeah, there isn't. And that's because a chap who's been trying to join for the last 2 days and has had an email with the link for the last 2 days, a guy called Craig, has said that he hasn't been able to join because the show's full, which it often is. So at least in the interim stages between the start and doing the housekeeping, I'm just going to leave the link closed, and then if we don't get him by the end of housekeeping, I will put the link out to the public. So maybe I'll rattle through housekeeping a little bit quicker just so the public does have a chance to join. Obviously we can't stand on ceremony for one dude, but he has had the link by email.
Is that Plexus? Is that Plexus you're talking about?
It was a guy who was on with Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. His name's Craig.
Okay.
I don't know who he is. But anyway.
All right, well, there's another guy I talked to that's been trying to get on for a couple of days, but Arwin blocked him. So I sent him the link so he could come in a little earlier.
Yeah, feel free. Like I say, there's no link for the public for the next 5 minutes or however long it takes us to do the rest of the housekeeping.
I think Eleanor's in one of those moods where she just wants to disrupt Daddy no matter what.
She's a co-host.
Yeah, she is.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Hey, Chuck.
Yo.
Did Did
Any
you hear the
evidence
beginning
that we
with
could-
Chocolate about the boat? P-Brain's video.
I heard it, yeah. I didn't
So
see his
P-Brain
video, but
agrees
I
that
heard.
the boat doesn't appear to be getting smaller, and if it was dropping over the curve, it'd have to get smaller really quickly. So we don't quite know what's going on with that. It's tempting to call it fake, but there may be other explanations for what's going on with that boat. But it's definitely not going over no curve, because perspective is a thing.
Well, even if it wasn't going over the curve, if it's gaining distance, it should get smaller. I mean, I don't know how that works out.
It's weird what we're looking at, because it does look persuasive if you're like a dumbass retard. Like, if you don't critically analyze something, it does look convincing that that's the curve of the Earth, because it's almost too good to be true. But it's still got to shrink.
Right.
You know
any
that
evidence?
effect in movies where they'll zoom in and zoom out at the same time? There's this like weird effect that they do in movies sometimes. It's something like that. It's almost like they're zooming in on it, but then zooming out on it like at the same time. It's just a weird piece of footage.
What you're talking about is an effect that Spielberg used in Jaws. It's a utilization of foreshortening. So where I've described the angle of attack, what you'd actually had this under my belt until Tim. Do you remember when Tim Mosman joined? And I asked him about foreshortening, and he immediately hand-waved, dismissed it, looked it up, described it, and it's exactly what his drone does. Well, yeah, have another look at foreshortening. But yes, that's precisely... If you look at a movie example of foreshortening, they would throw up that Jaws example where essentially, you're right, they pull the camera back on a dolly while zooming in. But it changes the perspective. It's a cool effect.
Yeah, that's what I thought of when I saw it. It's just weird.
Let's move on. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container? The necessary antecedent for gas pressure?
Hang on, just before we get to that. Just before we get to that, let me screen share, Nathan. I've got something really cool to show you. I'm going to have to credit Paul with this, because it's come from Paul. However, just bear with me while I look at what tabs I've got. Just don't share my screen just yet. Let me just get rid of some tabs that I don't want to be public. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Hangout ship. Yes, we're good. Right, so are we on?
Not yet. Yeah.
But this has come from Paul on the panel, and this is fab. This is a thermometer by Galileo. Never heard of one of these before. Only come across it yesterday. And I'm sure that makes me stupid, but nonetheless.
Sorry, can you just shrink it down one notch? It's just not quite.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't quite fit on the page for the audience. Can you just shrink it down? Zoom out one.
Is that better?
Yeah. No, I'll do something else. Don't worry about it. Yeah, go ahead.
So
it's just going to be small.
Basically, I'll try and zoom into this picture a little bit if I can, because most people won't have seen one of these. I'm sure there'll be some diehards that have, but go on, zoom in. There we go. I think that's the best I can get it. Basically, it's like a water ethanol mix. That's the medium. And the reason they use ethanol is because it's more susceptible to changing its volume as a function of temperature. But what this does is, because the water ethanol mix in the middle, that's the variable in when temperature changes. It changes the density of the water. And that then affects the weights that are around these little colourful blobs. So what I want to do is I want to... Let's see if I can get out of this. How do I get out of this? Just trying to get out of the bloody thing. On. How do I get out of this? Maybe it's back.
I'm back. If you were talking to me a minute ago, I was on a call, so sorry. I don't know if you asked me a question. I didn't hear it.
No, I was just giving you kudos for telling me about this Galileo thermometer yesterday. But what I want to do is I want to read this one particular part of it. It talks about how it all works, and it's not that difficult to understand. It's the liquid changes its density as temperature goes up and down because of the ethanol that's in it or the alcohol that's in it, and that changes the density relative to all the other weights Now look at this.
That's genius. Relative density based on heat. It's like a multi-liquid thermometer.
It is genius. Now, what I'll do is I'll try and make this bigger so that we can read it. Can you see that, Nathan?
Yeah, that's good.
So what it says is the Galilean thermometer works on the principle of buoyancy, right? And we all know that buoyancy's got little g, and you have to have gravity in it for it to work. So buoyancy determines whether objects float or sink in a liquid and is responsible for the fact that even boats made of steel float in water, while a solid bar of steel sinks. Now get this. The only factor that determines whether a large object rises or falls in a particular liquid is the liquid's density relative to the density of the liquid. It's literally describing relative density. So I'll read that again. The only factor that determines whether a large object rises or falls in a particular liquid is the object's density relative to the density of the liquid. So it's literally relative density, right? No mention of gravity. If the object is denser than the liquid, it'll sink to the bottom. As it is heavier than the liquid, it displaces. Displacement. That's what we've been saying for months and months and months. If it is less dense, it floats on the water and will be partially submerged until the weight of the displaced liquid becomes equal to the object's weight. This is exactly what we've been saying all this time. It's just relative density. It's the object that's in it relative to the medium in which it's in. And this is describing it, and it's Galileo's thermometer. Now, obviously, they are going to put in some element of gravity at some point. It comes up at some point in somewhere.
It's always up for presupposition, of course.
Yeah, it's always there for presupposition. I can't find it exactly now. I might have to actually do the word gravity, search for the word gravity in here. Gravity doesn't even appear in the article. So it appears that you don't need gravity in it whatsoever. Now, obviously, ballers are going to go and change this straight away so that there is the usual paragraph that you'd expect to see. But yeah, this document does not have the word gravity in it on this date. And all it needs is the relative density, and that's exactly what we've been saying for ages. I'm just going to have to read it one more time.
Make sure to screen cap it with the date.
Well, we're recording. We're recording. That's the point.
Yeah. So the only factor that determines whether a large object rises or falls in a particular liquid is the object's density relative to the density of the liquid, right? No mention of gravities and masses and forces of attraction and bending of space-time. The only factor is one over the other, which is what we've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So where's the gravity in this? I'm sure Galileo's thermometer didn't take into account gravity, and if it did, surely it'd be documented in here somewhere. But guess what? The word gravity does not exist in this document.
But wasn't Galileo before Newton, officially?
Yeah.
He was around about the same time, I think. I'm not sure exactly.
I think it was a bit.
I'm not sure exactly.
Right. Anyway.
So shout out to Paul for spotting that yesterday. Paul, where did you get it from?
You're on mute, Paul.
He might be away from his mic.
Oh, I know. I was trying to get. Yeah, I'm always running around here, so it takes me a minute to get back to the computer. Basically, I saw this at my cousin's house over Easter weekend, and I was like, "That's interesting." And I started thinking about the density buoyancy issue, and then thinking about what's causing the balls to go up and down, and it just triggered a thought process, and I thought it was fun to share, maybe something to talk about, which we're doing.
Absolutely, sir. Good spot.
Cool. Yeah, well done, Paul. And thanks for presenting it, Anthony. So let's move on. Any evidence?
So in answer to your question, any evidence for gravity? Absolutely none. Galileo's thermometer says the only cause is the densities.
Awesome. Right. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
No.
Nope.
There's so many people that believe in the sky vacuum known as outer space. Surely there must be some demonstration of this violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Really? None?
Only very temporary ones.
Temporary as in when an explosion goes off, if you have a high-speed camera, you can watch the effects of the second law of thermodynamics taking place.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not really defying the second law of thermodynamics. It's just a demonstration.
True. Watching the second law of thermodynamics in action is not a defying of the second law of thermodynamics. That's correct.
But still, explosions are super cool in high speed.
True.
Slow motion, rather. High speed cameras. Anyway, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
There we go. Will this develop a row?
There is no measurable distance to the sun.
Oh god. Oh god.
What? I said it right.
Did you say measured?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. I wasn't paying enough attention. I just went on auto brain.
There is no measurable spoon.
I noticed that, Arwen. Switching it up, huh?
Right. What about a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Any evidence of that?
No.
Come on, there's quite a few people on the panel.
All old mythologies of the center of the Earth. Ooh.
Okay. So
Wait, weren't there supposed to be dinosaurs there in a cave once?
I don't know
Nathan, there's got to be a way to get
Turning to
the
the center of
Cornelius
the Earth.
effect. There's
Lots
got
of
to be a way
overtalk.
to get the Cornelius effect. I mean, the Coriolis effect into
You can call it
housekeeping somehow.
You can, no. You can. Well, yeah, that's part of axial rotation. So, the Cornelius effect. I'm more than happy for you to label it that because that's actually very appropriate. And the reason is simple. The Coriolis effect is real. You can experience the Coriolis effect on your local child's roundabout by holding a ball in your hand as you rotate on the roundabout. While you're holding the ball, both you and the ball are in one reference frame, a rotating reference frame, but the ball rotates with the platform because you're holding it. Now, when you throw the ball, now we're going to assume for this example that you just throw it normally, you're not putting any spin on the ball to give it a curve, you just throw it and it travels in a straight line. Now, fact,
You throw it like a man or like a sissy?
You throw it like a sissy.
Okay.
And it just goes in a straight line, yeah? Assuming that you are fine, just because Arwen's piped up. You've got a catapult. And you definitely fire it in a straight line from the roundabout. Now, from your position, as you continue to rotate, the ball appears to take a curved path because you are rotating in another separate reference frame to the ball or bullet or catapult projectile that travels in a straight line. So you see an apparent deflection. Now that effect, the Coriolis effect, is real. It is asserted incorrectly that Earth has a Coriolis effect. Now this isn't true, proven by the planes, helicopters and drones that do not see the Earth rotate underneath them as they travel through the air. So there is no Earth-based Coriolis effect. So calling it the Cornelius effect is all good by me, because there is no the Cornelius effect is fake and nonsense. The Coriolis effect, to assert the Coriolis effect is fake is a bit erroneous because it isn't fake. There is a Coriolis effect. You can demonstrate it by throwing a ball off a roundabout. But Earth does not have a Coriolis effect. It's got an alleged Cornelius effect, which is totally fake.
I used to be a big fan of Beavis and Butthead, so I want to call it the Cornholio effect.
I like that. Cornholio!
No. Cornholio for my bangholio.
Yes, it's quite vulgar in terms of what it's referencing, but thanks for adding that on, Arwen. Most of the audience would have been unaware. Yes, indeed. But the Cornholio effect is definitely fake and not real. Earth doesn't have planes that have dramatically reduced air travel as the continents they're travelling to come towards them, and they're never fighting against the Earth curve when they're travelling away from it. So no, there is no Earth-based Coriolis effect. It's just complete nonsense. There is no apparent deflection. The Earth does not rotate underneath, although it's asserted that it does, but the Earth does not rotate. It's just as simple as that. Anyway, moving on. So we were on molten iron core when we came to that. I always hold out quite a lot of hope for that one. Surely there's some... Sorry, I'll stop sniggering. Surely there's some proof of the molten iron core. It's taught to our children in schools, right?
Maybe there's proof of a molten chocolate core, since it's supposed to be pear-shaped. It's kind of like an Easter egg, so maybe there's a chocolate molten core. What do you say?
That would be awesome.
So it would be a lava cake. So really, the Earth is shaped like a lava cake. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's pear-shaped. You could interpret that as a Easter egg shape as well.
That sounds
Right?
rubbish. This isn't proof of online.
Oh, it did? I
Okay,
thought it was
so
really
just before I
ridiculous.
ask the last housekeeping question, I've intentionally, because a guy called Craig, who I don't know, but Dirth put me in touch with, apparently wanted to join the show. I've emailed him the link yesterday and today. He said the panel was full. The panel's not full, and it's been 25 minutes since we've been live. So after this last question, the link will go out to the public. Anybody will be welcome to join. But yeah, there we go. Disappointing. Any evidence of the presupposition of Earth radius, the R value, gentlemen?
No, none.
Nothing.
No. Did you guys hear Red Pill going on to Jose's hangout?
I did.
Hear any of that?
I did, and something that I'm glad you brought up. So, f-stop, yeah, something that you'd calculate based on the size of the aperture. Rayleigh criterion, eh? Rumpus submitted on that show to Red Pill Philosophy that the f-stop would be cause of a light in the distance demonstrated by Life is Short with an iPhone versus a Canon. And obviously having a larger aperture meant that the light was seen where it was not in the iPhone. And Rumpus replied, that's just a matter of the f-stop. So Rumpus has now conceded that objects can disappear into the distance from the bottom up due to the size of the aperture used in the equipment, not accounted for in his calculator. Finally got you, you little bastard. So Rumpus, you allege to always be right about everything. I'd now like you, given that you have conceded that objects can disappear from bottom up due to the, quote, f-stop, where that's included in your begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. It might seem that Rumpus isn't always right, because if he was, he'd have applied that which he understands is a cause of things disappearing in the distance. In this case, on a perfectly flat surface, a light disappearing in the aperture of an iPhone and not in the aperture of a Canon. So, Rumpus, if that's a cause of things disappearing in the distance, you'll obviously have applied it in your mathematics, won't you? Just for the audience's benefit. No, he hasn't. This effect has been hijacked. This would be an effect of perspective, calculable in the Rayleigh criterion, absolutely excluded from the question, begging, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. Rumpus is just a deceitful piece of shit, and lying to all you globeheads who believe him. He knows f-stop is a cause of things disappearing from bottom up, but he doesn't include it. He's just a liar. So I'm calling you out, Rumpus. You've conceded to Red Pill Philosophy. It's on tape. You understand that things can disappear due to the f-stop value. Why haven't you accounted for this very real detail? Hey, Physics Warrior, and hey, UK Truth.
Hey, truth.
Yeah, well, my guests don't say hello. I'm calling you out, Rumpus. This isn't included in your calculations. Obviously, it's something to do with the pictures that you're analysing. It's something to do with the cameras. So it absolutely needs to be accounted for because you're comparing your maths to these pictures and you've conceded. F-stop is the reason that light disappeared from the bottom up in the iPhone. Right, Rumpus? Unlucky. Yeah, you've all been fooled, globeheads. By people like Rumpus. By people like Bob the Fallacy Guy. By people like Mitt West. They're all pissing in your faces. And it makes me laugh because these dudes know. They all know. They know how the trick's working. Like the magician on stage when he lets off a smoke bomb and drops down a trapdoor. He knows he's tricking you. But you all gasp, don't you, globehead retards? Gasp in amazement how they proved the Earth is a sphere with a bit of mathematics. Well, we're here to tell you, in no uncertain terms, that they use actual sizes that do not change with distance. And believe me, when you look at anything in the distance, its size does change. They've just hijacked that effect and called it curvature to fool you all. And they're laughing at you, like I'm laughing at you. I hope all the panel laugh at you globeheads while these deceivers like Mick West pull the wool over your eyes. They haven't pulled the wool over our eyes. We've spotted the magic trick. We know how it works. You don't. But that's amusing to me. This does make me laugh.
Shout out to Rob Vanderclock.
Makes me laugh too.
Is that 10th man on the panel with a black... I can hardly tell on my projection screen. It's so little difference. Is that 10th man or is that a gap on the panel?
No, it's 10th man.
Ah, we've got a full house then. Right, Craig, I'll give you half an hour. You didn't join. You had the link. It was emailed. We discussed it yesterday. You've had the link twice by email. I don't know what more I can do. Maybe he's got cold feet. If you're in the show or if you're in the chat and you want to say, look, I am trying to join, yeah, well, just let us know and I'll ask somebody to be very graceful and duck out of the panel and we'll have you on, Craig. No mention of anything in the chat, but if somebody does see something in the chat from a guy named Craig, please tell me and I'll ask somebody on the panel to leave.
Are we talking about the Craig?
I don't know. No, not Fight the
guy?
Flat Earth.
Oh, okay.
Have you guys all getting on with a Microsoft PC? I'm trying to get on with an iPad and I'm having more difficulty trying to get on in the morning. I hear everybody else on, but it just goes forever.
I have no trouble at all.
Well, when your show started, I went to join. And it just puts me into the Hangout, and either I'm alone there or somebody else is trying to get on. And we're just the only ones in the Hangout.
Oh, right. Yeah. So if I don't put the link for today's debate, I don't do anything. So all that happens is when this show finishes, the link that you've joined on today will still be there when I start the show tomorrow. But obviously I'm going to start a fresh Hangout. So until I update that link, I don't intentionally go in and delete the old one. So you're just joining yesterday's link each time. But today I intentionally did that because there's a guy specifically moaning that he can't get on because the panel's full. So like yesterday, I've sent him an email, said here's the link, not published the link for a short period of time during housekeeping, today even longer, so that he can join while the panel's not full. So he's got no excuse.
Right. But my question is, how come I'm hearing other panel members on? What link are they using?
They're using your link that you've gone in from the day before. They're also doing the same thing. So they're going into yesterday's show. That's all that's happening.
Yeah, but they're getting on and we're not. That's what I can't figure out.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying now. So you're saying that's just a glitch then. I don't know why that happens. That does happen. I've had it happen to me. So you try and join on an iPad. It's the correct link. It takes you to a random room. And you're like, oh, it's just a full. And then someone else pops in. Oh, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so we were thinking we were the only ones using iPads, and we're thinking maybe it's an iPad language issue with Microsoft.
It is.
Google Hangout.
It certainly is for me. That's when I have that issue, when I go in on an iPad and suddenly I'm in what seems like a holding pen and it doesn't give you the disclaimer at the beginning that you're joining a live call. It just takes you straight to a room and you're like, oh, what's this then? And the show's running and you can see it on a different tab or whatever.
So can I just ask the panel members who got on before I did, are they on PC or iPad?
I'm on a phone.
I'm on a PC.
Phone?
I'm sorry. Is it a what?
Chromebook.
Is it okay, so far it's PC, Chromebook, and Slick. What kind of phone? Samsung or
Android.
iPhone?
Android.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does answer my question.
All right, so, okay.
I got to get a PC.
10th man, what it is some people are connected.
Yeah, way to go. Nice one. No, hang on, Slick. No charge for that comment.
And what's my avatar look like, 10th man?
Oh, you still got your six pack.
And so it's okay.
Yeah, fine. We all dream of that. We used to have it.
I see a girl with a nasty shirt on.
Oh, that's funny. So, Nathan, I don't know where you are in your conversation. I don't want to throw a monkey wrench into it. May I just say that all I've been thinking about is how you say can't have gas pressure without a container, but can't have water remain level on the spinning ball either.
Yeah, well, they changed the meaning of the word level.
Oh, I lost everybody. Now I'm back.
Oh, Tanweer's joined. Are we getting sniped?
Level is level.
Oh boy, this third day in a row, I'm getting sniped. I'll be back.
No,
you're good.
You're all good.
Yeah, so far, but Hey, your show's famous.
Somebody got
Everyone's
him.
got to come here and kill it.
Well, that's because the trick is being revealed. See.
Yep. So you can't have water remain level on a spinning ball. Let's not let him beg the question anymore.
Hey guys.
I don't know if it's just me, but I'm of the feeling that I don't think life as we know it would be possible on a spinning ball in a vacuum. I just don't think it's a possible thing.
Of course not.
Well, when you look at the tangential speed, 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, all the water should pool there. We should have an oblate sphere on the equator, not below the equator. It should be on the equator, and they should be the deepest waters of the world. The deepest waters of the world are around the Antarctic oceans, like the southern South Pacific. They're the deepest parts of the oceans. It's not consistent with the claim that we're spinning.
Your senses would be all out of whack. You'd be like dizzy all the time.
Oh, but Slick, it's only one.
I agree. Yeah,
Slick,
you'd be dizzy all the damn time because, I mean, you're doing 4 different directions at the same time. And then you've got things looming and refracting all over the place, cities coming up where they don't belong because all of that shit is true. I mean, what kind of world would we be living in if that was the case?
Like, I have a question for you. Can perception be subjective to reality?
Let me see now if I'm understanding your question correctly. What I'll say is this: reality doesn't require perception because reality is what it is. No matter how you perceive it, perception doesn't change it. I don't know if that answers your question, but
On the reality world, but let's just go on to my perception side. Would it be subject to reality?
well, see, I don't look at it from that side. I only look at life from the reality side. I don't concern myself with the perception side because, like I said, perception doesn't change reality. So that's just maybe not a good question for me.
Okay, but for me, in my opinion, I could be on your side, and I could see the reason why that perception could be subject to reality. But now that's why I'm asking you the question here, where I'm this side of the perception, where I'm asking you about reality, if it's subject.
Right. Yeah, like I said, and that's not a good question for me because I am only on the reality side. I'm not on the perception side, so I can't answer your perception questions.
And no further question.
Thank you.
It's not a good question for anyone who understands the truth, which is just reality.
How do you know reality? Through the senses or through your mind?
Well, reality just is. See, and that's what I think people are missing. People think that they have to interpret reality. Reality doesn't have to be interpreted, it already is. And I think what people do is they get these preconceived notions that somehow it's subject to their interpretation, and that's where the confusion comes in. There is no interpretation. Reality is. Reality is what it was before anybody was born. And after they were born, reality didn't change. So whatever your perception of it is just doesn't have any bearing on reality.
Right, but how do your senses, or our senses, I will include myself in that, how do our senses give us stimulus or input of reality physically?
Well, my answer to that for me is who cares?
Well, instead of just leaving it alone, do you believe that you have sensory feedback?
Well, the problem with that question is I would have to have beliefs, and I don't, so I can't answer that question.
Well, let me put it another way. When you touch a hot stove with your finger, do you have a belief or do you pull your finger off the hot stove?
Well, I don't have a belief, so the answer is obvious.
Well, I understand. So your sensory does work in this reality. If you touch something hot, your normal reaction would be to pull away, correct?
Right, but is there some point to this?
Well, the point is that your senses are a part of this reality. whatever someone wants to call it.
But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that reality is what it is, regardless of your senses. Your senses doesn't change reality. Reality comes first. Everything else comes after.
I agree. We live in the physical world, and it's real. And when my senses meet that world and I touch something hot, I sense reality that's hot. Would you agree with that?
Well, I hear you, but that just has nothing to do with my point.
It's like you're almost avoiding it.
Okay, I'm not avoiding anything. Think about it. What was the stove before you were born? Was there a hot stove for you to touch before you were born?
No, it was non-existent.
Okay, so that's my point. That's the point that I'm trying to make. See, you're trying to tie something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but I didn't say before you were born.
I know, but I'm trying to make a point for you.
I know, but I'm talking after you were born.
Okay, so what about it?
So if you touch a hot stove after you're born, and it's the reality of the hot stove, how do you know that? Isn't it not through your senses?
What difference does it make? What does that have to do with reality? In other words, just because I touch a hot stove and burn my hand, how does that change reality?
That's not the issue. I'm not even arguing about changing reality. I'm with you on that. Reality is reality. I agree with you.
Well, what are we talking about? Why are we having this conversation?
I'm just trying to tie how you identify your sensory with reality. And then also, well, I understand. That's why we're going in circles.
I simply experience.
Right. So how do you experience it?
I don't worry about how. I just experience it. How is not important.
Okay, so let me just go there. So if you touch a hot stove and you experience heat, you experience your hand moving away, correct?
See, these are things that I don't know why people ask these kind of questions. They don't really make any sense to me. Now, maybe I'm missing something, but that's just a question that makes no sense.
But what about
all
a
an
blind
inquiry.
person? What about a blind person? What about a blind person that has to use perception?
You're still, I still just don't understand why you're not. Reality comes first. Everything else that you're talking about, blind people and touching stoves and all that, that's secondary. I'm not talking about secondary. I'm talking about primary reality. Everything you're talking about has nothing to do with that. And I'm not concerned about these secondary things. I'm only concerned with the primary.
Then identify the primary meaning of
So-
reality. What is
Listen,
reality?
How would you know it is the primary reality and not just your subjective experience?
Because I am not here to define anything. I'm only here to experience. Reality is there for me to experience. I don't need to put words on it. I don't need to identify it. I don't need to do anything. You seem to need to do this, and you're asking me how. I'm not concerned with your concerns.
No, but we try to distinguish reality from non-reality. You have to distinguish it from that. It's not just whatever we experience. You don't just by default experience reality, right?
Listen, you have to do what
You may
works.
experience your senses, but how are you going to interpret them? Or maybe you're not. You're just going to be experience senses.
Listen, you have to do what works for you. Your limitations are not my limitations.
That's correct.
Well, I think
I know kind of what 10th Amendment's driving at. I'm sorry. Maybe
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to put ahead if I can. I agree with Slick that reality is reality. It's not. It's something I call it objective. Like there's a piano in my room. It's there. It's objective. But our experience of reality is subjective. Now, if that's the case, if our experience of reality is subjective, how do we control? And I think this is what 10th Amendment is trying to drive at. How do you know that your experience is objective or is it just purely subjective? So I'm trying to think of an example. Like, okay, a blind man, that he was talking about earlier. A blind man has no sight. So he can't see anything. You can talk about color, you can talk about shape, but he can't, through his only limited sensory input, he can't grasp those concepts for him. So
you don't know that.
I'm shifting to
They
Paul's
could
side of the
dream.
argument.
They could dream sight.
So Paul, so what you're saying, so even though all of those things are happening, does that change reality?
That's not my point. I just said it
I
doesn't
know, but
change reality.
that's my point.
It doesn't change. Okay, well, If my point is, if our experience of reality is subjective, how do you know that your experiential component is a true representation of reality? That's my question. I think that's what Tim's.
Right, and
That was my question.
And I understand that. I don't concern myself about what's true or not. I only have experience. See, that's your thing with this true or false thing. I don't deal with that. I just deal with experience. It's just that simple. You're the one complicating it, and you're looking for me to answer your complication. I'm not here for that. I live a very simple existence.
Okay,
I experience reality, and
Wait
that's
a
that.
minute.
Hey, look, it's clear, guys. It's loud and clear. He doesn't care about lies or truth, so he doesn't care.
Listen, I don't, Arwen, I
That's
don't
literally
need
what
you
you
to
said,
listen.
right?
Arwen,
What
I
you
don't
said,
listen.
right?
I
Was it
don't
what you
need
said?
you.
Did you
I
say
don't.
that?
Are you going to talk over me?
No, I asked you. It's a yes or no question. Is
I
that what
don't
you said?
need you. I
Did I
don't
quote
need.
you correctly?
I don't need you to reinterpret what I said and try to
I
sell it
didn't.
back
No,
to
I
me.
quoted
Well,
you, and
then
I asked you if I quoted you
listen.
correctly.
You don't have to quote me because all you have to do
No, I
is listen.
don't. I know I don't have to, but I did
Okay,
it
you can
anyway.
go ahead and answer for me. You go ahead, answer for me.
No, I want you to answer a question.
Okay,
Can you
I'm
answer
trying
a
to answer.
question? Is it
If
within
you
your
be,
capability to answer any kind of question, or are you just a bohemian rumpus?
okay, can you be quiet for a second and listen to the answer?
Right.
Now, I'm answering you very plainly. Now you got me all confused because you couldn't stop talking.
It was a yes
Now,
or no answer.
Okay, ask the question again because I forgot now because of your constant talking.
Right. So did I quote you correctly saying that
Okay, now
you
I
don't
got it.
really
Now I
care
got it.
about
Now I got
lies
it.
or truth
I said
because you
I
just
got
care
it.
about the
I
experience?
said I got it now. Okay, here's the thing. Don't quote me. Just listen to what I say. Don't
That's not an
try to.
answer.
Are you going to stop talking?
Or are you going to answer yes or no?
I'm answering you. Shut up.
Yo, you're not. You're red herring me. You
Now
shut
you're
up.
getting
And
on
just
my
answer
nerves
yes
with
or
this. I'm
no,
trying to
because
every
that was
time I
the
try to
question.
listen. Every time I try to
Yes
answer
or no question.
every time I try to answer the question, you purposely try to confuse the situation so that I
No,
can't
you're red
answer.
herring me. You're
I'm
doing it
hip
now
to your
again.
trick. This
You're
is just
doing
a
it again.
trick.
It's a yes or no answer.
This is just a trick.
You're
The
red herring
answer,
me again.
listen.
It's a yes or
Okay.
no answer.
Okay, here's the answer. No, you don't quote me. I say
That's
what
not
I
an answer to that question. That's not the question I asked that answer to.
Okay,
So
well,
can you
ask it
just
again.
answer yes or no to the
Okay,
question?
ask it again.
Did I quote you correctly when I said you don't really care about lies and truth, you just experience?
No, you didn't quote me correctly.
Okay, can you then say what you actually said, literally? Can you quote yourself?
I said what I said literally when I said it the first time.
That's not a quote. That's not actually the content of what you said. So what did you say?
So what you're telling me is that what I said, I didn't say. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know. You refuse to quote yourself. I have nothing to compare it with now.
What are you talking about? Quote myself. I made a statement. That statement that statement that I made is my quote. What you did was hold on. I wish you could
again. You
could you
are a
stop?
rumpus. You are a rumpus. You are literally incapable of answering basic questions. It's a serious mental illness, man. Serious. How much
Let me know when you're
effort it is,
finished.
Just go with it.
Before the ad hom start, hold
So
on,
hard.
hold on. So he's just saying, give us your quote again. Just, I don't even know what the. I like you. I was about to call you Rumpus then, Slick. My bad. I can't remember what the actual quote is either. So he's asking you to just repeat the quote. If you're saying he's misquoted, if you're saying, God, this is so complicated, that Arwin has misquoted you. Arwin saying, well, what is your quote? And you're saying, well, it's what I said. But what were the words used is kind of what Arwin's getting at.
Right. And the point that I'm trying to make is between him hollering and rumpusing me to death, I forgot what I said myself. Because what I'm trying to say is that whatever I said, he tried to repackage what I said and sell it back to me. And what I was trying to tell him was that I don't need him to do that. Just listen to the words that I say. Don't try to repackage it. It's just that simple.
Can I make
You
a quick
don't
comment?
have to be so needy.
Hold on, Erwin. Hey, Erwin, hang on a second. Like sometimes I think people sometimes repeat back what they hear. Not that they're trying to repackage what you're saying. That's how they hear it, and there's a clarification component to that. Say, is this what you said? If it's not, then re-clarify, restate it in such a way to where you understand. I think that's what Erwin was trying to do. So you can say he's repackaging it all day long, and that's fine. But I don't think that's what he's doing, because I was going to ask you a question off your statement that you had said, and I'd actually like to rehear what you said before. What I understood you saying, now you can I'm asking for clarification. I'm not repackaging. I'm asking for clarification that you are not concerned with if things are true or false. Is that correct?
Exactly. I'm only concerned with my experience. I don't try to determine whether something is, hold on. Now let me finish. I don't concern myself with, I don't concern myself.
Let him finish. I want to hear this.
I don't concern myself with whether things are true or false. I just experience them. It's just information. It's an experience. You concern yourself with things that are true and false. I don't need to do that. Now, maybe you do. And if that works for you, that's fine. I don't.
Well, I get that. It's a very principled system. I kind of admire that you're that persistent at it, but there's a technical difficulty with that, and that is if you only concern yourself with experience, not what is true or not, then you have no grip whatsoever on what objective reality is. You can only conceptualize it.
What an outrage. Hold on.
Because objective
Sorry,
reality
Alwyn. No way. You can't charge me
requires-
that. It's the total opposite. That's the antithesis of what he's got as an opinion. He's saying he only goes by actual experience of reality. How can you possibly charge him with that?
Well, my question was...
But he's going with his centuries. He's not drawing any conclusions from them, true or false.
My question was...
So how can you then understand reality? Reality is already a concept that unifies things.
See, that's you talking.
Here, let me
That's its
let me
function.
ask like a question.
That's how we use it.
Hang on, Erwin.
Well, that's how you use it.
That's how everybody
hold on,
uses
Slick.
it.
Hold on. There is no everyone. There is no we.
That's the colloquial use of the word reality.
I don't want that argument again. I've heard it. So go on, Paul.
Okay. Slick, are you concerned with if your statements are true or false?
No.
You're not concerned about it?
Didn't I just say no?
So if you make okay, no, that's clear. So for us on the panel, and whatever I say, I can't trust you because I don't know if what you're saying is true or not. I can't trust you. So
hold on.
I know that. So why should I accept anything you say? Which is, I know that's where you're going, and it doesn't matter to you. But see, it does matter to me because, and honestly, part of this journey that we're on, we've been told something that is false. We've been told something that is false. It's not true. So in some level, we all are concerned. I'm not putting you in this. I'll say the other 9 people on the panel are concerned with things that are true or false. Part of this debate is determining what's true or false.
Okay, so I know Slick will give a repetition of an answer he's given about 20 times, but if you can give it, and then I just want to add something. So go ahead, Slick.
Well, see, like I said, now remember I talked about monologuing. I was ready to answer him, but he kept on continuing, adding in all that unnecessary stuff. Now, let me explain to you if I can remember correctly. Now, you're concerned about whether you accept what I say or not. This is what you don't understand. I don't care what you accept. I'm not here for you to accept or not accept what I say. I'm not here to make myself clear to you. If I'm not clear to you, that's your problem. It's not mine because I'm clear to me.
Right, thank you. So
very hostile and patronizing.
Fine, just before the ad homs get in. So just
no, not ad homs. I find that a very hostile and deflective response. Okay. I don't see why that's necessary.
It's his bag though, isn't it? That's his point.
Yeah, and I'm pointing it out.
Yeah, but that's his bag. You don't have to like it.
I'm just
Does
pointing it out.
reality have substance, Slick?
Hold on, just before we move on to a new point. So, people who are, I'm sure every one of us on this panel's subscribed to Jaren. Am I wrong? If anybody doesn't know who he is, raise your hand. No, jolly good. Everyone on the panel subscribed to Jaren, and he prefaces most, if not all, of his videos by saying, "Don't trust me. Don't trust what I'm telling you. Check it for yourself. Experience it for yourself." That's his advice, right? Very sage advice. Wouldn't we all agree?
Yes.
So do you not
Yep.
think that admittedly
But how do you-
extreme... Hold on.
But how do
So
you-
although
how do you
admittedly extreme, do you not think it's a fairly reasonable position that Slick takes, given that he's vehement about it?
To an extent.
Yep, I get Slick completely.
I don't know.
That advice
it's too
from
much.
Jaren.
I get
that
the
advice-
principle. It's just too far. But
That,
I don't know.
that
You
advice-
figure it out.
Go on, Arwin, then 10th man. I'm doing this because everybody's constantly putting Slick under the microscope. Let's just get it over with. We've got a few minutes left on this live show. So go ahead, Arwin. It's just, I've said it already, it's his bag, right? You don't have to like it. You don't have to trust what he says. You don't have to believe what he says. If what he says is somehow not acceptable to you, go and check it out for yourself, right?
Well, that's true. But the thing is, he's not just doing his thing. He's also using his principles to disrupt and red herring things. And that's not just his bag anymore. He's using that bag and dropping it on our foot. So I'm criticizing him for, well, what is criticizable? Like his unusually hostile attitude whenever somebody asks him a question about something personal. He's so overkill private, and it doesn't even seem really private. He just refuses to answer questions principally. It's almost literally like Rumpus does it.
Okay, right. Before that gets left
That
to
is
the
all.
ether,
And
Arwin,
no,
come
I
on,
get
come on,
his
come on.
principles. I
We've
get
only got
it.
Arwin,
I get it.
it's 300 people watching, right? So 10th man, and then I want Slick to be able to respond to it before I round out the live show. So go ahead, 10th man. Sorry, anybody else who had an opinion on this.
All right, thank you. Just back and forth Paul just had with Slick, I think, is why we keep running into this. I mean, if Slick is saying, as I heard, he's not interested in finding truth or falsehood, how do you even have a discussion?
He doesn't.
Okay, I have a discussion by having discussions because we are having a discussion right now. Even though I hold the principles that I hold, aren't we having a discussion?
What principles?
No, I didn't ask you that.
Hang on. No, hang on. No, I need identification so I could communicate with you in the discussion. When you say you hold principles, but then say there are no principles.
Okay, so now here we go with the wordplay.
No, you
Now-
said the word principle. What
Yes,
is principles? What
It's
are
the
principles?
consequence of using words, Slick.
Oh gosh, you guys with these trick games, these gotcha catch phrases.
Right, with that, I will say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this live debate. If you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley channel, with fingers crossed, I hope there'll be an after show to follow once I end the live show. But also a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel for making the debate possible. If you need to keep yourself occupied after this live stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley after show to follow.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!